Safe and Sound. Part 1. There we are, safe and sound. That's what our dad would say to us every time he'd finish locking up the safe. He worked as a watchmaker but repaired all sorts from clocks to jewelry. He was a freelancer working his business from home. He always kept whatever he was currently working on in that safe. Every morning after breakfast, while our mom went to work at the office, he'd carefully open the safe and unload whatever job that needed to be worked on. While Mom worked at the office, Dad was working away in his workshop. Meanwhile, my little brother Adam and I usually played games throughout the house. We were very young at the time, him barely 4 while I was around 6 or 7. "All right, I'm going to start getting work now. You boys go and play." "Okay, Dad." "Matthew, make sure you look out for Adam. Okay, make sure he doesn't get into too much mischief." "Okay, Dad." "Good lad. I shouldn't be too long, but shout if you need anything." "Okay. Great. You lads have fun. Try not break anything or your mum will be fuming." Our dad then turned and walked away into his workshop, locking the door behind him. Since I was the oldest, he usually asked me to keep an eye on Adam while he worked in the other room. Dad had set up one of the rooms in the house as his own little workshop. We were always curious about all the cool stuff that was in there. The tools and strange machines we saw him use had us curious. Most of the time, we weren't allowed in, and room was usually kept locked up. Looking back, it made sense. Little kids and workshop tools aren't exactly a good mix. Still, kids being kids, we were always looking for a chance to get in there and mess around with all the cool stuff. Occasionally, our dad would let us into the workshop, making sure we wouldn't touch anything unsupervised, of course. He would show us some of the tools and machines, even some of the clocks and watches he was currently working on. As an adult, it all seems so mundane, but as a kid, it was exciting, like we'd just been given access to a secret lab. "Well, guys, Mom is working late tonight. Let me load up the safe and I'll get started on dinner. How's that sound?" "Awesome!" On occasion, if he was finishing up for the day, he'd even show us the massive safe at the back of the workshop. Even as a grown adult, it's still an impressive size when I look at it now, although these days, I can barely stand the sight of it. Dad showed us the safe and went about opening it. It was one of those old-fashioned ones with the mechanical dial. Adam and I felt like we were safe crackers trying to break into a vault. When the final number was entered, he twisted the metal lever down with a loud clunk and then slowly swung the door open. As kids, looking at the huge safe being opened felt like we were being given exclusive access to Fort Knox. Is huge. Well, it needs to be. Some of the things I work on for customers take up a lot of room, and they're very expensive, so they need a lot of care. Is that gold? It is. Lots of jewelry is made of the stuff, and I end up fixing them for people. That's so cool. He spent a lot of time with us showing us the different clocks, the jewelry, and all the tools he used. As a child, it was amazing, like we were being presented with an array of unknown treasures. That's what sparked our interest to venture further. Usually, while Dad was working, Adam and I would always be playing games, mainly throughout the house. Although we sometimes ventured into the back garden when the weather was nice. It rains a lot here in the UK, so we never got that chance often. Our parents never liked it when we tracked mud into the house. Most of the time, we played with our Nerf guns, played video games, or just watched cartoons. Sometimes we played hide and seek. Adam was getting better at hiding. Him being so small and all, but he kept giving himself away, giggling all the time. What we really wanted was a chance to play around with all the cool stuff in our dad's workshop. And one day we got our chance. I remember noticing our dad quickly leaving the workshop to grab a tool he needed. At least that's what I think I remember. It's hard to say after so long. My dad always had tools left all over the house, and he'd always forget where he put them. He was careless like that sometimes. It wasn't uncommon to see him walking about the house in search of whatever missing tool he needed at the time. He didn't really notice us when he left the room, but I noticed the door left partially open, and from there I made the decision to make what is, to this day, the biggest mistake of my life. "Adam, look," I said in a hushed whisper. "What?" Dad's workshop, it's open. What? It's open, come on, let's go inside. But won't Dad shout at us? It'll be quick. Okay, we'll be in and out before he comes back. Oh, okay. It took some persuasion, but eventually we were in agreement, and with that, Adam and I quietly entered our dad's workshop. We had the same level of amazement as before, but now coupled with the thrill that only comes from breaking the rules. This is so cool! Keep your voice down. Do you want Dad to yell at us? Sorry. It didn't take much exploration before we noticed it. The safe at the back that our dad showed us before, it had been left open. We both immediately walked over to peer inside. Just like before, the space was huge, and although a good portion of it was empty, a good portion was also filled with gold jewelry. We felt like pirates uncovering a hidden treasure chest. That feeling was short-lived, however, as we quickly noticed the sound of footsteps approaching the room. We didn't know what to do, so I thought of the only thing I thought we should do at the time, a decision that still haunts me to this day. Dad's coming back. What do we do? Quick, we have to hide. Boys, dinner's ready? I froze as my brain started to short-circuit in panic. What was I going to say? Where's your brother? I don't know. He must be playing somewhere. Okay, I'll go get him then. Go and get yourself sat down for dinner or your mum's going to be annoyed. Oh, okay, I muttered as he was walking off upstairs. I slowly walking into the dining room, my heart almost beating out of my chest. I could hear my dad shouting, Adam, come on, son, dinner's ready. Adam, stop messing around, your dinner's going to get cold. My mind was racing in a panic. What was I going to say? What was I going to do? Adam, where are you? I had to think of something quickly, but before I had the chance, I heard my dad coming down the stairs again. My mum was bringing our dinner into the dining room at around the same time. What's wrong? When I saw my dad get to the bottom of the stairs, I could see that there was worry edged on his face. It's Adam. I can't find him anywhere. Have you seen any sign of him? No. I thought he was with Matthew upstairs. My dad once again turned towards me, eyes focused on me like a laser. Matthew, where's your brother? I looked down, rubbing me arm, and tried to lie again. He must be playing somewhere. Don't lie to me, son. He cut me off in a stern voice. My dad could always tell when I was lying. I don't, Saba. I could feel tears start to stream down my face as I tried to form a coherent sentence. My dad kneeled, a look of deep concern on his face. Hey, Matthew, what's wrong? Come on, son, talk to me. We didn't, Didn't mean to what? What's wrong, son? I could barely think of what to say. You can tell us anything, you know that, right? I slowly nodded as I was reduced to a sobbing mess. Now I could see my mum shared the same worried expression, although she didn't say anything as my calm down, okay, buddy? Deep breaths. We wanted to see the workshop again. We went inside. You had the safe open, and we heard you coming back. I could see his expression shift as I continued speaking. What happened? We were worried you would be angry at us, so we hid. What did you mean you hid? Matthew, where's your brother? I was too big to fit so I hid under the bench, and he climbed in. Whoa, what do you mean he climbed? He suddenly went quiet as what I had told him finally clicked in his mind. His face dropped and his eyes went wide. Oh my God! Ah, Christ! My dad bolted up the stairs, faster than I thought was humanly possible, leaving me a stunned, sobbing mess and my mum in a panic by the sudden change in my dad. What is it, Tom? Mum ran up the stairs after him. Tom, what's happened? What's going on? I could hear the panic in my mum's voice as she ran. I could hear me dad trying desperately to open the door, turning the dial in a panic as he talked. Come on. Tom, talk to me. What's going on? I was terrified, and I knew my brother would be too. Locked in there, I told him he'd be fine. As a child, we were both so scared of getting into trouble. I told him it would only be a few minutes' wait and that I'd come back to let him out when Dad went to help with dinner. Nobody would have been the wiser. That's how it was supposed to go anyway. When I went back, the safe was locked, and that's when I began to panic. Soon, the sound of the dial turning stopped, and I heard the familiar clunk of the safe handle being turned and the mechanical creaking of the safe door being opened. The jig was up now, and I knew as soon as my brother got let out, he'd get yelled at for hiding in there and start crying. Then I'd get yelled at because I was supposed to watch him. There was no crying from my brother, though. What I did hear was a scream from our mum that made me freeze in place and my blood run as cold as ice. "Adam!" "Oh, God, no." "Come on, sweetheart, wake up, come on. Yes, hello, ambulance service, please." The rest happened so fast, everything tends to blur together. I was terrified and confused about what was happening. As a child, I thought he'd be fine. I thought he'd be safe. I'm an adult now, with my own life, something my brother will never be able to experience. My parents never really recovered. They say that I was just a child and that I couldn't have known. They try to assure me it wasn't my fault. But I've seen the way they look at me. Life has been perpetual nightmare ever since. Every aspect of it is still consumed by guilt. It's like part of me reasons that I shouldn't get to have the happy life, not when I've deprived him of that same thing. It clings to me like a cancer, leading to one self-destructive habit after another. I have no career, no aspirations, and it's gotten to the point now where I can't even sleep without copious amounts of drugs and alcohol. My parents eventually made me start seeing a therapist, although I have my doubts it'll do any good. My therapist says it's good to write down these thoughts, that I was just a child and couldn't have known, that it was a horrific accident. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. I thought he'd be able to breathe in there. I was his older brother. It was my job to protect him, but instead, he suffocated, terrified and alone, I the dark. For that, I'll never forgive myself, and as I look at the shadow in the corner of my room, I don't think he will either.